Kelas 2, Bitara, venue SMK Ahmad Bustaman, theme People and Culture, topic Good Luck, Bad Luck, focus skill, reading and writing. And as for learning standard, main 3.1.2, understand specific detail and information in simple longer text on a range of familiar topics. Complementary 4.1.4, express opinion and common feelings such as happiness, sadness, surprise and interest. Content standard, main 3.1, understand a variety of text by using a range of appropriate reading strategies to construct meaning. Complementary 4.1, communicate intelligibly through print and digital media on familiar topic. Learning goals, by the end of the lesson, students are able to, in pair, identify at least 3 specific pieces of information from the text and transfer the information into the worksheet given accurately. This is C2, understanding. And secondly, individually produce an informal email to their friends about their game or sport they are interested in with at least 4 accurate sentences based on the sample sentence. This is applying C2. I will explain the rationale for our topic selection and how our learning objective align with higher order thinking skill and the learning standard. First, the topic World of Sport under the theme of People and Culture was selected because it is familiar, engaging and culturally inclusive. Sport allows students to draw from their own personal experience as well as their diverse cultural and sporting background. When learners can relate lesson content to their own life, their motivation and participation tend to increase. In addition, sports are commonly discussed in everyday communication, especially in informal contexts such as email, online messages, and social media. Because of this, the topic supports authentic language use and meaningful communication, making it suitable for both reading and writing activities. Next, I will explain the alignment of the learning objective with higher order thinking skill and the learning standards. Learning Objective 1 or LO1 align with Learning Standard 3.1 where students apply reading strategy such as skimming and scanning to identify specific detail in a text. This objective reflects Bloom taxonomy at the C2 level, which is understanding as students focus on comprehending and extracting relevant information. Learning Objective 2 or LO2 align with Learning Standard 4.1.4 where students apply language feature from a model text to express their personal opinion and interest through writing. This reflects C3, applying as students use what they have learned in a new but related context. Next, the lesson is intentionally sequenced from comprehension to application. In my view, this progress supports cognitive scaffolding, ensuring that students develop sufficient understanding before engaging in independent writing tasks. Finally, higher order thinking is encouraged when students transfer information from the reading text and personalize it in their own writing responses, allowing them to connect language learning with real-life communication.
Hi, Assalamualaikum, and today I'll be presenting to you the set induction. So for the set induction, the purpose of this stage is to activate students' interest, vocabulary, and prior knowledge related to sports. This is achieved by engaging students through multimedia input and an interactive vocabulary task at the beginning of the lesson. So, the teacher begins the lesson by greeting the students to establish a positive, welcoming learning environment. Next, the teacher introduces the lesson topic through a short video on different types of sports. After watching the video, students take part in an interactive word wall matching activity where they match images to the correct sports and related actions. Before students begin the activity, the teacher models an example such as football, kick, to clearly demonstrate the task expectations and ensure students understand what is required. This sequence helps students become mentally prepared for the lesson by recalling familiar sports and actions while actively engaging with the content. So, 2 main materials are used during this set induction. The first material is a short video showing different types of sports. This video provides meaningful visual input that captures students' attention and connect the lesson to real-life context. It also helps activate students' prior knowledge as they recall familiar sports actions and situations before moving on to the reading task. The second material is a word wall matching activity where students match images to the correct sports and action verbs. This activity promotes active participation and immediate vocabulary recall, ensuring that students are cognitively prepared for the upcoming reading and writing tasks. Together, these materials support vocabulary reinforcement and help lower students' affective filter, making them more ready and confident to engage in the lesson.
Let's now move on to the pre-lesson phase of this particular lesson plan. The main purpose of this particular stage is basically to activate learner schemata while also preparing them to identify specific details in the upcoming reading task. So before students are actually engaged with the text in the lesson development stage, they are first cognitively and linguistically prepared for what they are going to do next in the lesson development stage. Now, let me briefly explain how this activity and also the materials are carried out in the lesson plan, specifically in this pre-lesson phase. First, students will work in pairs based on their proficiency levels, which includes low, intermediate, and advanced learners, because these pairings will allow weaker students to receive peer support while the stronger students are still meaningfully challenged or engaged. Next, the students will select only one flashcards based on the material just now, only one flashcard, which is material 3, and based on the observable details in the image or in the flashcards, they are required to generate only 2 questions. So at this point, the students are not just looking at the pictures passively, but they are actively analyzing what they see. Then, the student will exchange and answer its other questions using the mind map worksheet, which is material 4. So, throughout the activity, the teacher will also circulate around the classroom to basically monitor progress, provide scaffolding, and allow extra times when needed, especially for the weaker learner students. So now let's come back to the purpose. How do these steps actually support the activation of learner schemata? So learner schemata are activated by the visual stimuli and peer interaction even before the main reading task begins. By engaging students with familiar sports through the flashcards, students are able to connect their prior experiences, their prior knowledge, and also the existing vocabularies to the upcoming text. And at the same time, when students are required to generate the questions or their own questions, they are actually engaged in inquiry-based learning, and this process directs their attention to the specific details, which cognitively prepares them for skimming and also scanning during the reading stage. If we look closely at the material used in this pre-lesson phase, they also strongly support this purpose. So the flashcards, the digital flashcards, activate visual and experiential schemata by prompting students to basically recall the familiar spots, actions, and context before encountering the text in the lesson development stage. The flashcards here, they do more than just showing pictures. They actually guide students in thinking. Okay, for example, let me give you a situation. So if the student selects a pictures or a flashcards about football, so the image will then immediately triggers past experiences or familiar experiences, such as seeing a player kick a football. So from there, the students will generate the questions based on what they can observe, based on what they can see, such as the actions used in football. At this point, the students then starts recalling the exact vocabulary from their memory that they already know and realizes that, oh, for football, we use the word kick. And this process is very important because students, they are not being given the exact vocabulary directly, but they are retrieving the vocabulary from their memory, which strengthens the schema's activations. So then, when students, they exchange and answer each other questions, they actually with their partner, the process actually continues, and their partners also recall the previously learned words, concepts, vocabulary, and this particular shared interactions allows the schemata to be actively, collaboratively activated through discussions and also clarifications. In other words, through the pair work and also communication, students, they not only activated their own background knowledge, but also supports each other recall. And this ensures that everyone in the class, every pair, is cognitively prepared before moving into the reading stage. Meanwhile, the mind map worksheet here, which requires question construction and responses, pushes students to focus on identifying the key details rather than general ideas. In short, this pre-lesson activity prevents students from engaging with the upcoming text without prior activation of background knowledge. So through the use of sport flashcards and also peer interaction activities, students, they will recall all the familiar sports, vocabulary, action, such as recognizing kick as the key action in football before encountering the text itself. So by generating and answering each other questions with their partners, learners will then collaboratively and also actively reinforce each other's schemata. As a result, students encounter the reading stage with activated background knowledge, clearer expectations, and a stronger cognitive readiness to identify the specific information from the text.
For the lesson development stage, we will first focus on the input stage, which is designed to explicitly teach the selected reading learning standard 3.1.2, which focus on identifying specific details in a text. At this stage, the teacher introduced a short video adapted from my favorite sport to provide contextualized and meaningful input. The video presents information about the favorite sport in an informal and familiar context, allowing students to observe how details such as the type of sport, when it is played, and who participates in it, that are naturally embedded in the text. We believe that the use of multimodal input, particularly video, helps lower students' effective filter and support comprehension, especially for weaker students. Visual and auditory cues allow students to grasp the meaning more easily before they are required to engage with written text. After watching the video, students answer 3 multiple choice questions using Wayground. These questions are carefully designed to focus on students' attention on specific details rather than understanding. The teacher then models how to locate the correct answer by demonstrating the first question. During the process, the teacher verbalizes the thinking steps such as identifying keywords and matching them with information from the input. We believe that explicit teacher modeling makes the cognitive process of reading visible and equips students with strategy they can later apply independently. Immediate clarification is also provided to address misconceptions and ensure that students clearly understand what is meant by identifying specific details before moving to an independent reading. The next part of the lesson development is the task stage, which focuses on assessing student understanding through guided and independent application of reading strategies. Students begin by skimming the full informal email text titled My Favorite Sports for 10 seconds. This brief skimming activity activates prior knowledge and allows students to gain a general sense of text without focusing on the detail yet. Students then read the text individually and underline specific details related to the guided questions. This step encourages students to apply scanning skill and focus their attention on key information rather than reading every word. After individual work, students collaborate in pairs using the think, pair, share strategy to transfer accurate information into a mind map worksheet. Through discussion, students then compare their answers, justify their choices, and correct misunderstandings before finalizing their responses. We believe that this task sequence, which are skim, read, identify, and transfer, reflect authentic reading process used in real-life reading situations. The mind map worksheet further requires students to recognize information which demonstrate to comprehension instead of surface level copying. Pair work also allows peer scaffolding, where stronger learner can support weaker peers while still maintaining individual accountability for understanding. Next, we move on to the final stage of the lesson development, which is the feedback stage. The feedback stage aims to consolidate learning and correct any misunderstanding related to identifying specific details. At this stage, students exchange their completed mind map worksheet with another pair for peer marking. This process encourages students to reflect on their own understanding by evaluating the works of others. The teacher then randomly calls on students to justify their answers by asking students to explain how they identified specific details. The teacher reinforces effective reading strategies and promotes meta-cognitive awareness. We believe that peer marking encourages reflective learning and helps students recognize accurate identification of specific details rather than simply focusing on whether the answer is right or wrong. The teacher then provides corrective feedback and clarification when needed, addressing common errors and reinforcing correct strategies. Teacher-led discussion validates successful approach while guiding students who may still be confused. Feedback is differentiated through questioning and explanation, ensuring that both weaker and stronger learners benefit from this stage. This formative feedback strengthens comprehension, accuracy, and prepares students for subsequent reading and writing tasks.
For the post-lesson, this post-lesson is to explicitly teach and reinforce the selected writing of the learning standard, which is 4.1.4, before the independent production. And the teacher revisits the text, which is my favorite spot to guide students before they start writing. The structure of an informal email is reviewed, including the greetings, body paragraph, sign off, and relevant vocabulary. We believe that explicit instruction is important because students need a clear model to understand how an informal email is organized. By highlighting these features, students become more confident and prepared. We also believe that this step reduces cognitive loads and helps students transfer what they learn from reading into their own writing. The purpose of the task for this post-lesson is to assess students' understanding of the selected learning standard through meaningful production. This task also requires the students to apply language features and personal ideas, directly addressing the learning objective tool, which is Katie the Bloom taxonomy C3 is applying, and this task differentiated worksheet by worksheet to ensure all students are assessed fairly based on their readiness level, not just linguistic limitation. And students, how we do this in the lesson? Students write an informal email based on the real life scenario using the informal worksheet, which is the measure of time. They are given 15 minutes to complete the task, and we believe that using real life scenario makes the task more authentic and helps students to see relevance of writing beyond the classroom. The tasks also are differentiated according to their proficiency level, and different worksheets are given to low proficiency, intermediate, and advanced proficiency students, and follows the DS2, which is the differentiation by the task, and the S4, which is differentiation by outcome. We also believe that by adjusting the task demands, students are able to work at appropriate level and pace without feeling overwhelmed or under challenged. As you can see in the slide, advanced students proficiency receive a worksheet with a single instruction. They write an informal email about 70 words to a pen pal describing their favorite sports using their own ideas and experiences. And this differentiation allows them to demonstrate higher language control, creativity, and organization. We believe also that this challenged them to apply their skills more deeply. And for intermediate students, the task is supported through guiding questions. They answer the question and organize the ideas into one coherent paragraph. And we believe that this structure helps them to focus on the content and the organization while still encouraging independent thinking. As you can see in the slides, the task for low proficiency students is highly scaffold using images. There are four images. Um, they write simple sentences, arrange them in order, and combine them into one paragraph only. And by this differentiation, we believe that this reduces cognitive loads and support idea generation, also builds their confidence in writing. And overall, for this task differentiation, we believe that this ensures all students can participate and succeed according to their ability, not be limited by their language proficiency. By matching task complexity to students' readiness, the assessment becomes fair, inclusive, and meaningful for each learner. For the feedback stage, the purpose is to enable students to present their work and receive constructive feedback on their writings. At this stage, students exchange their informal email with their peers and provide peers feedback. This allows them to read and this allows them to read each other's works and identify strengths and also suggest the areas for improvement. We believe that peer feedback encourage students to become more responsible for their own learning and help them to develop and evaluate also um, improve their critical thinking. After that, the teachers provide oral feedback by highlighting common strengths and pointing out areas that need to be improved. And the teacher also give corrective feedback where necessary to ensure accuracy in the language use and clarity of ideas. We believe that teacher feedback is essential because it benefits correct writing strategies and prevent misconceptions from becoming fixed. And finally, we believe that the combination of peer and teacher's feedback creates a balanced learning environment. Peer feedback also promotes learner autonomy and reflections, while teachers ensures accuracy and clear understanding. Immediate feedback supports formative assessment and helps students internalize effective writing strategies, which align with the differentiation by feedback (DSA).
So, for differentiation strategies, the main rationale is to accommodate diverse learners' needs. So, our lesson plan is designed to support different proficiency levels through systematic differentiation by task, support, outcome, time, and feedback. We believe that every student deserves equitable access to learning and meaningful participation regardless of their learning ability. So firstly, we differentiate by task and outcome, which aligns with differentiation strategy number 2 and number 4. Different worksheets are given to low proficiency, intermediate proficiency, and advanced proficiency students so they can complete the task at an appropriate level and pace. So we believe that when tasks are matched to students' readiness, learning becomes more effective and less intimidating. So for advanced learners, they are extended to an open-ended writing task. They receive a worksheet with a single instruction, which is to write an informal email of about 70 words to a pen pal describing their favorite sports using their own ideas and experiences. This requires them to independently apply language features, organize their ideas, and personalize their writings. We believe that this challenges their higher order thinking skills and allow them to demonstrate strong language control and creativity. So for intermediate learners, they are guided through structured questioning. They receive a worksheet with 5 group guiding questions, and they answer these questions in one coherent paragraph. This helps them organize their ideas more systematically while still maintaining learner autonomy. We believe that this balance of guidance and independence support their confidence and writing development. So for lower proficiency learners, they are supported with highly structured scaffolds. They receive a worksheet with 4 pictures and guiding words related to common spots. They write one simple sentence for each picture, arrange the sentence in the correct order, and combine them into one paragraph. We believe that this strong scaffolding reduces cognitive load, supports idea generation, and builds their confidence in writing. So lastly, we differentiate by time and feedback, which aligns with differentiation strategy number 5 and number 8. Flexible timing is given so learners can progress at an appropriate pace based on their ability. We believe that this reduces anxiety and creates a more supportive learning environment. Feedback is also scaffolded, where weaker learners receive more guided and corrective feedback, while stronger learners are given more challenging feedback to improve their writing. We believe that differentiated feedback ensures continuous progress for all learners and makes the lesson more inclusive and effective. That's all from me. Thank you.
Now, let's move on to the very last stage of this lesson, which is closure. So the main purpose of the closure of this particular stage is quite simple, but it is very important. So the purpose is to wrap up the lesson and encourage reflection rather than ending the class abruptly. So to achieve this purpose, the lesson concludes with a one-sentence exit note, because before students leave the class, they are asked to write the new skill that they learned during the lesson and explain why it is important. So based on the questions in this exit card, it is not about what did you learn, but also about why it matters. So this activity is intentionally short, but it is very powerful. Instead of merely recalling the content, students are required to think about their learning process. In other words, they are engaged in a metacognitive reflections, because they will pause and they will think about what did I actually gain from this lesson. For example, students might write that they learn how to identify specific details by using the skimming and scanning techniques, or how to organize ideas in an informal email. By explaining the importance of the skills, students will reinforce the lesson objective in their own words. On the other hand, from the teacher's perspective, this particular exit note functions as a formative assessment, because it allows teachers to quickly gauge the students' understanding and also to identify which skills were successfully achieved and notice what are the areas that may need reinforcement or reteaching in future lessons. So in short, this particular stage, this closure stage, ensures that the learning itself is consolidated, because students, they will leave the classroom with a clear sense of achievement, and the teacher will gain meaningful feedback to inform future instruction.